And welcome to another exciting episode of Riding Through the Unknown. I'm your host, Michael, and joining me tonight on this adventure that we call life and into the esoterics, I am joined by an amazing guest who has a podcast show that is totally worth checking out and delves into topics that I am just dipping my toe into. So I am so grateful that he is able to be here tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to my guest to introduce himself. I give you the one, the only, amazing, wise one, Nate Gray.
Thank you. That was a cool introduction.
You're welcome and well deserved.
Yeah, I have two shows running on YPX News right now. I have Troubled Teen Talk and MK Ultra and Clandestine Projects with Nate YPX Gray. I've been working on those. My website is ypxnews.com. My other website is supersoldierforum.com. If y'all want to visit that forum, it's not particularly active right now. Was pretty active around the time Max died. Was pretty popular back then, but not a whole lot of activity going on it right now.
So, what got you to start the forum?
There was already a Super Soldier Talk show, and there was no forum. There was a Revolution Radio. There was Project Camelot, but I'd never seen a forum for Super Soldiers, MK Ultras. Sometimes we talk about aliens and other stuff like that there. So it just didn't exist, so I decided to make it. And then I decided to make my own show a couple years later.
So, YPX, does that stand for anything, or are you just like the letters?
I've been referred to as Weapon YPX. I don't know why. I don't know how I got that designation. And I figured I'd just call it YPX News. No one's ever made a YPX News before. So, yeah, it's because I've been referred to as Weapon YPX instead of like Wolverine's Weapon X. For some reason, he gets referred to as that. I've been referred to as Weapon YPX. I don't know why.
Okay, well, they have all kinds of designations. It could be program related, or who knows why they pick what they pick. Government comes up with all kinds of weird names like Sunbeam. It has nothing to do with the sun, but hey, why not? Makes it sound interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
So, how did you first become aware of being super soldier and interested in all of this going on?
Well, when I was very young, I encountered aliens and some weird stuff. And for a couple of years through my teenage years, I didn't even believe in aliens, even though I'd seen them. And yeah, I had and that's hard to explain. I don't want to. I remember when I was very young, I told my pediatrician about it, and he was in the Skull and Bones, and he was in it with George Bush. And I told him I was being visited by aliens, and he said that he would look into that. And he told me that in the 30s they would have sent me to an asylum for believing in aliens, but according to his connections in the Skull and Bones, the aliens really exist. So I felt comfortable talking to him about it. I talked to an expert on those insectoid aliens in one of my shows. I forgot the guy's name, but he encountered a lot of the Manuses. And I vaguely remember the Manuses when I was a kid. And they communicate telepathically. And they showed me a vision of a world that couldn't be inhabited from the surface and that everyone was living underground. And my pediatrician told me to ask them if they were Republicans or Democrats. And I told him they only seem to care about the environment. So he said they must be Green Party then. But yeah, and they asked me if I wanted to remember their visits anymore, and I told them no. And ever since I told them I don't want to remember their visits, all my memories of them ended there. I'd never seen them again, other than a video that leaked of insectoids from Mexico. Some poor Mexican guy in his yard encountered them and videotaped it. And this guy, call sign J Ridge, told me to watch the video before the government scrubbed it from the internet. So I got to see a video of the insectoids walking around in Mexico. It was unclear to see how they walk. It just seemed to show their upper body. That happened a really long time ago. I started waking up again when I was around like 19 or 20. Through my teenage years, I guess I was kind of in denial about it. When I got out of high school, I was contacted by a guy codenamed or call sign J Ridge. And I would play military video games with him. And this was before Snowden. And he told me all about the stuff that Snowden revealed about the NSA monitoring my Xbox and my computer. And they were putting like hidden cameras and plants in my house. And in my music teacher found one under his piano. I mean, I used to own a security company, and I found security cameras on the ceiling, and those cheap ceilings where you can like poke a hole through the ceiling. Someone had poked a hole there and put a security camera facing my computer screen. I don't have one right now facing my computer screen, but that happened to me a long time ago. I used to be followed by a white truck or van with a guy dressed as a painter in it with an all-white suit. And that dude would shadow me. One of my cousins thinks it's the FBI, but I don't really know. I encountered a strange man in my barn at the farm. And before I could pull a gun on him, he pulled a gun on me and showed me a little badge. And it looked like a plastic badge. It didn't look like a genuine metal badge. But the fact he had a gun and a badge and that he was inside my barn was pretty scary. So I let him run away. And I didn't pursue him or try to shoot him back or anything. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people think this stuff could be hallucinations or something. And I don't think it is. Too many people have seen the same exact alien that I've seen, and there's video and picture evidence of the aliens. And a lot of it gets scrubbed. Victor's alien interview didn't get scrubbed. If you look up Victor's alien interview, you might be able to see some video of a small gray. I remember that species of small gray in Victor's alien interview when I was a child. I looked outside of the window and I saw it next to a big metal thing that is sometimes referred to as a sport model. Bob Lazar refers to it as a sport model. Bob Lazar was a scientist who worked for Department of Naval Intelligence in the 80s until he broke his security oath and went to the media about it. So if y'all haven't looked up Bob Lazar, you should look up Bob Lazar. Department of Naval Intelligence was the group that tried to recruit me when I got out of high school, first year of college. And it does exist, but it's not an official. It is an official government organization, but they don't admit that it exists, kind of like the Delta Force. Everyone knows the Delta Force is real, but the government still doesn't admit the Delta Force exists. It's something like that. And they work at facilities like Area 51 and S4. And there might be some other facilities that aren't as well known that they work at, possibly Los Alamos, places like that. He told me about the underground railroads that they have, which isn't the same as like moving slaves around. It's like a real railroad that's underground in the deep underground military bases.
And
And
these are the railroads that they talk about. Like you can get to, say, Los Angeles to London in like 2 hours.
yeah, I don't remember ever being in a deep underground military base, at least not at the moment. But yeah, these trains are supposed to go up to Mach 2. I've heard that it kind of ruins the tracks if they go that fast, but they're capable of going that fast. Um, so
I
they're very
imagine,
fast trains.
yeah, and I would imagine if you have a train capable of Mach 2, you have the capability to fix that track or replace that track as needed. Because I don't imagine building something and then saying, well, we could make the meeting in 20 minutes, but let's make it 3 hours like everybody else.
Yeah, I don't know how fast the train normally goes, but if I remember correctly, I was told that the train doesn't operate at Mach 2 all the time because it's not good for the tracks or something like that. Um,
Do you think they run on like, because I'm going to say the geothermals, because I know Hollywood sometimes discloses things. And I was watching and I was remembering as we're talking about like how fast things move, the movie Mortal Kombat Annihilation, where they got in the spheres and they could traverse the entire planet in a matter of minutes or hours instead of the long way like we would. And they're like, well, the vents and the geothermal pushes the sphere at a faster speed. And it's like, it kind of makes me wonder if that's like their version of the train.
okay. Yeah, there've been a lot of Mortal Kombat movies. I like the most recent one. Hmm. No, Raiden was my Thai boxing name when I was a Thai boxer when I was a teenager.
I always thought Raiden was like Thor, and I gravitated because of the lightning aspect.
Hmm. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he kind of lays down the law. He's a pretty cool character. Yeah, I have a couple of Mortal Kombat games. Uh, Asian triads really love Mortal Kombat a lot too. A lot of martial artists like the game. I like Soul Calibur better because it's 3 dimensional. Mortal Kombat's a 2D game or a 2.5D game. There aren't 3 dimensions to it. There's just left and right and up and down.
Right, and Soul Calibur has a wider variety of characters and techniques and weapons that can be used.
Yeah, and you can get out of the way by moving around someone instead of forwards and backwards.
Yeah, my friend introduced me to Soul Calibur 4, and I was like, oh man, I was hooked on that for like months.
Hmm. Huh. Maybe we should play Soul Calibur sometime.
Yeah, it's a game that I always find it interesting, and I don't know if it's programming, but I will sit there and when I first start, it's like really slow to understand how the buttons work, but then it's like all of a suddenly it's like, oh man, I can do great. And then when I'm against somebody, I'm like, yeah, no, because I almost feel like they know what I'm going to be doing before I'm doing it, and so I'm like, yeah, I never last very long.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty good with the female ninja with the two wakasashis. I think they're either Tontos or wakasashis. She's like a female ninja or something. And I like the girl with the Tai Chi sword because I actually used the Tai Chi sword. Um, and I like the Witcher character. He reminds me of John Storm. Are you familiar with John Storm?
Um, John Storm, if memory serves right, is that no, I was thinking Snow. Sorry, my
Um,
mind was going to Snow and talking and thinking about what's that show that was on HBO? The Game of Thrones.
no, The
Uh,
Witcher is about a male witch who has some limited magical abilities and drinks potions and stuff. It's a
yes,
video game and it's on Netflix. Have you seen it on Netflix?
I've seen part of it, but I don't have Netflix to be honest. When Obama took over as CEO, I kind of was like, yeah, I'm not gonna pay for the woke that you're wanting to promote, so I kind of dropped Netflix. Same with Disney Plus.
Well, John Storm was an MK Ultra Generation One. He's deceased now, but I was glad that he was one of my friends. I've done two shows about him on YPX News. If y'all want to go to YPX News and look up John Storm on YouTube and Rumble under the name Nate YPX Gray or ypxnews.com, either should get you the info about him. And he was a forum member on Super Soldier Forum. I have an article on him in Super Soldier Forum. I think it's in the public section. If you join the forum, then you can join the members only section. And then there's a YouTube section for YouTube videos. And I made a special section for someone that posts there so much called Eclipse. I just gave him his own like section because he posts so much. Um, yeah, so John Storm was Duncan O'Finian's teacher. He was a Generation 1 MK Ultra. His call sign was Thumper. And he also knew Peter Parker, which is a mutual connection. I met the same guy. And the guy who goes by the name Peter Parker is actually an African American guy. He's not a white teenager. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but he was John Storm's generation, I think. Have you heard of Duncan O'Finian?
I think I have in passing, but I'm still fairly new, and so a lot of names like they come and go, and I'm like
Yeah,
in one ear out the other because I'm like, okay, wait a minute, you're throwing a lot of names and a lot of people from all over, and it's like, hold on, let me kind of settle it. So
okay.
I'm
Well,
not meaning you. I just mean people in general, and the programs are always like, oh, you should talk to so and so, so and so, so and so. It's like, only got so much time in a day, people.
Duncan O'Finian's antisocial, so I don't recommend talking to him. But he did some early interviews with Project Camelot until he turned on them. and he was in A Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura.
That show I remember.
Okay, you should watch the MK Ultra episode. Duncan O'Finian appears in it. He's a Generation 2 super soldier. I don't think he likes being called a super soldier, but that's the word people use. Yeah, so he's a Generation 2 Ultra, and he's Celtic and Native American, and he has chips inside his body, and he has x-rays to prove that he has chips in his body. And he got shot really bad a couple years ago. But yeah, that's the lowdown on who Duncan is.
And that raises an interesting point is a lot of people say, oh, you're in the secret space program, so you're a super soldier. And a lot of them say, no, I'm not a super soldier. And so I've started learning that, like, 1 out of 5 programs may have super soldier status, but they're not all super soldiers. Has that been your understanding as well? That you can't just blanket say SSP super soldiers?
Hmm. Yeah, some people that work for DNI are civilians, or at least they used to be. I heard they stopped hiring civilians. But yeah, Duncan O'Finian wasn't. Oh, wait, Duncan was a soldier. Bob Lazar wasn't a soldier. He was a scientist. He worked for DNI. So DNI didn't want to use me as a soldier, as far as I know. I think they wanted me to help them with the aliens, to understand the aliens, and they wanted me to drive Chrome Hounds or something. But they didn't want to like put me on the front lines in a combat zone or anything like that. Um, yeah, I was told I was too valuable for that, which is a good thing, I think. But yeah, we would play simulations with Chrome Hounds. We did some soldier simulations, but J Ridge kind of looked down on soldiers. He was a Navy guy, so he was more into the planes and the aliens and stuff than the gun self defense or whatever. As a lot of people can operate a gun and become a soldier, but not a lot of people can make weapons and drive them and stuff. That was my understanding of it.
All
Um,
right. And I'm kind of curious with all your research and your background. We're starting to hear about, people coming forward. Like you have a lot of people going public in conferences saying, I'm a part of the programs. And at the same time, we have Space Force being brought into the forefront. Do you feel like Space Force is an element of the secret space program, and that's the start of the disclosure of it? Is talking
well,
about our fleet in space, or do you think it's a cover up to try and hide the fact that they've already been up there?
well, basically, what Space Force does is it protects our satellites from the Chinese. And Space Force existed before it officially existed, but now it's an official thing. Trump used to say the soon to be Space Force. When he was saying there will be a Space Force in the future, he already knew that the Space Force existed. So the secret part of the Space Force was called the Secret Space Program. But now they're coming out of the shadows and recruiting people. Like DNI chooses you. You can't apply to be in DNI. I think the Space Force was the same way. They choose you, but now you can actually apply to be in the Space Force. So that's the difference. And the goal of the Space Force is because the Chinese can attack our satellites with rockets. And we can't do that back to them. Or if we can, I don't know about it. And we need to protect our satellites because we're dependent on the satellites. So I think that's what Space Force's goal is. The secret Space Force probably deals more with aliens and stuff like that than the public Space Force, if you want to call it that.
I'm curious, do you feel like the Space Force may be a part of the Star Wars program that Reagan started, or was that literally really scrapped and they created this instead?
I think Star Wars was to protect us against Russian nukes or something. I don't know, but they've known about these aliens since the 40s. And Victor's alien interview reveals that they had one captured in the S4 facility. It was a small gray, and they would question it using telepaths because they communicate telepathically.
Right, and for those out there that are wondering, I looked. There's a lot of stuff about Victor's alien interview on out there. It's on YouTube and other places.
Yeah. So being a telepath is valuable too. And yeah. Um, yeah, if you look up the X-Men character Nate Gray, it gives you the lowdown on his abilities and stuff. And I was told that that character is loosely based off of me. So, but yeah, he's a telepath and is telekinetic. Have you seen the movie American Ultra?
I have.
Okay, remember the scene where the woman walks up to the guy, the main character who works at the gas station or the 7-Eleven or whatever, and she whispers those strange words to him and it activates him?
Right.
Yeah, they can do that with my telepathic abilities. If they come up to me and say a phrase, I can turn them on, and they can say another phrase to turn them off. And sometimes they don't stay off all the time, but for the most part, it works. And definitely works on the telekinesis. Sometimes I slip up and I'll pick up on something someone's thinking, or I'll project something into their thoughts, but it doesn't happen very much when I'm not activated. And so it's kind of like American Ultra. Not everyone in MK Ultra is used as like a frontline soldier, but all of us have been programmed with those code words and stuff. Yeah. So not all of us are like Rambo commando guys.
No, that's probably a good thing. We do need some brains to help with things, but also I'm curious your thoughts on if like you get a sense of this phrase and then you blank out and you're like, okay, that's the last phrase I remember hearing. Can you use your telepathic abilities to block the effect of that phrase?
Well, there was a phrase that made me pass out when I heard it, and I actually remembered what it was. So I started saying it to myself and not passing out, which I guess helped. But if I heard the word randomly, I could get a little tipsy and fall over. So I guess I'd have to train myself to not fall over when I hear that code word. And it's not as strong as it used to be. Um, but yeah, I mean, they put a safety feature into my programming where if I disobey them or whatever, they use like a safe word. um,
Which raises an interesting question of, with, like you're saying, occasionally stuff leaks through, and and when I say we, I mean anyone in the programs who's wanting to be free can start to piece together enough to say, wait a minute, you can't program me anymore. I know what I can do. I know how to, like you're saying, train yourself to block the effect, like saying it over and over so you don't react the way they want you to react.
yeah.
It makes me wonder, do they have a failsafe that nobody knows about that keeps everyone in the program from rebelling?
Well, I have one built in. When some people program attack dogs, sometimes they give them stop commands, sometimes they don't. Depends on the dog and what the dog's used for. They kind of treat us like attack dogs. They program us and train us and stuff. So I was given one of those stop commands, I guess. If it fell into the hands of the enemy, they could use it against me. So that's the downside of it. I don't know what else to call it. That's kind of what it reminds me of.
Have you ever heard of anyone breaking the program? Like breaking their control and their commands no longer work?
Um, well, my handler told me that I wasn't limited by my commands. I had a handler for like 8 years, kind of like how the guy in American Ultra had a handler. Um, she was my therapist, actually, and my dog trainer. So I thought it was interesting that she was a professional dog trainer. But yeah, before I met her, the government used to follow me around. And she got the government to stop following me around. Now, if they do it, it's not obvious the way it used to be. I haven't seen a black helicopter or police helicopter hover over me in a long time. So, for the most part, I guess they've lost interest in me, which is a good thing. It makes me more comfortable talking about it, I guess. And
I wonder, because a lot of people are saying like the white hats are taking over and controlling a lot of the black projects. And so it makes me wonder, like, those that are in the secret space program, because it's an agency that has no, like, answering to anyone, how would we know the white hats took over and what would they do? Would they just disable everybody, or would they just wipe out the codes, or what would they do and what would that look like, and is that even possible?
well, I talked to RFK Jr. I used to be one of his volunteers. And he told me that he would declassify all this stuff when he gets elected, which unfortunately didn't happen. Bill Clinton apologized for MK Ultra in the 90s. He acknowledged it was going on and apologized for it. So I guess Bill Clinton kind of had a soft spot for us. But for the most part, the other presidents seem pretty callous. They don't seem to care. George Bush Sr. was part of the CIA. He was the CIA head and the president, so he knew all about this stuff. Didn't do anything about it. Um,
So I have an interesting question for you, because I hear a lot of people talking about handlers. How do you know you have a handler for the programs?
you're not supposed to know, but you can figure it out, I suppose, the same way you figure everything else out. Only like 5% of us ever figure out that we were part of this stuff. Most people go through life and blissfully ignorant about it.
I mean, I just find it curious because it's like in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't have anyone around me that's like constant for long periods. It's like changes a lot. And so I'm like, if I have a handler, I have no idea who it could be because there is no constant. And you would think your handler is constant.
Well, I was spied on constantly by my handler, but I preferred her doing it over random people I've never met before. So it was a trade off.
Yeah, it's like one of the things, like, I have memories coming in of being in the programs, but it's like whenever someone talks about handlers, I'm like, nope. It's like, I don't know. And like you're saying, it's probably a good thing I don't know because then it might create an awkward situation.
And I picked up on it using logic and telepathy. My handler was telepathic herself, so she was pretty easy to read.
Yeah, I mean, don't get
Other
me wrong.
telepaths have pretty loud thoughts.
Yeah, and there are times like I'll be out in like a crowded area and I'll get like I call it like a spidey sense where I'm like, somebody's watching, but I don't know where they're from. I can't narrow it down. And so I'm like, all right, let me just disappear into the crowd and do my thing and go. And so I get that feeling every once in a while, whether in a public place or just around the house sometimes, but I've never seen anyone or been like, there's never been a vehicle that I'm like, wait a minute, that vehicle shouldn't be there.
Hmm.
So maybe mine's just really good at hiding.
Hmm. You had Alyssa Zender on your show, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she did a video on her Facebook about a van that she found following her. She videotaped a white van.
Yeah, it stopped in front of her house and then it's like he showed a light in her direction and then quickly sped off.
Yeah, that's what being a targeted individual's like.
Yeah.
See weird stuff like that.
See, and that's what I wonder with doing these shows and as I'm uncovering things is so far I feel like I'm not a target and I don't want a target on me. I want to know, but at the same time, I don't want a target. I don't want those that are around me to be put in harm's way because of my want to know.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know if there's any advice on, like how to keep from being targeted.
I don't know. I guess you just have to be careful who you let into your life. I mean, I have trouble trusting anyone. Um, at the same time, I assume people are innocent until proven guilty. So you have to find some balance, I guess.
And you mentioned Kennedy, and I'm going to sidetrack the show for a second because there's something that I'm curious about with Kennedy Jr. and him being, the head of health now. He's going to be in charge of the health system. Do you think and do you feel med beds are real and he's going to bring those about and help people, or is that something that people have been smoke and mirrored about and given false hope about and it's never going to happen?
I don't think he has the authority to do that. If he did, he'd probably do it. He's the my favorite politician I've ever met. I met Bush. I met Hillary. Um, I walked by the other bush, the younger one, but he gave the this symbol when I walked by him to let his security know not to let me around him, which I guess is like the Freemason distress signal.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, I think in Europe it's this, but in America it's like that, putting your hands together like that. It's a distress symbol. So that's what I think he did.
You
But
know, it's interesting you say that because just before we came on, I was watching someone talking about the Notre Dame reopening ceremony. I don't know if you watched any of that, but Macron put up his hand like this, holding Trump's hand, and Trump was like, nope. After that, he's like, no way. I'm not putting my hand up like that. And they said, yeah, that was like a signal to the people, to the deep state and cabal that, yeah, he was in charge. And Trump was like, nope, not having that.
yeah, well, that is the Baphomet horns or something, I think. I think that's what that means. It could mean hook'em horns if you're into the UT or whatever, University of Texas.
Yeah.
But that's usually a Baphomet thing.
Yeah. And believe me, I have my suspicions about what really goes on at UT because that place has its own zip code and it's everyone that goes there, it's like they come out with a different personality than when they go in.
Okay.
I'm in Texas, so I have friends that went there, and yeah, they were a little bit different when they came out, and was like, "Oh, you're doing this now? Okay,
Well, where in
wow."
Texas?
I live near Dallas,
Oh, okay. Huh.
so I'm about 3 hours from Austin.
Okay.
And traffic there is always crazy, but I will say I do love the street art on 6th Street, the spray paint art that they do there.
Huh. What murals have you seen?
I haven't really seen any murals in Austin, but I I think I might be guided away from some of those because like I've flown in Denver a few times,
I
but
thought you
never
said
seen the artwork there. And it's like, how did I miss it?
the artwork at Denver Airport's really creepy.
It is. I've seen them in pictures,
Huh.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it's like I find myself like I can walk by it and be totally oblivious to it, but when I see it in a photo, I'm like, oh my god, there's no way I could ever miss that,
Huh.
and yet still walk by something and never notice it.
Yeah, the guy I made my logo with over here is a mural maker. That's like his job. So he's made some of the murals maybe you've seen. Um, hmm. but yeah, I worked on this symbol with him, the YPX News symbol.
Yeah.
So it was a
So
joint operation.
yeah, you talk about meeting with aliens and having familiarity. Have you come across any books like, say, Alana Danan's, who put pictures of them in there and be like, yeah, I recognize them, or, well, the features are a little off. They're similar to who I've seen.
I've seen the small grays, the insectoids, those strange creatures from Men in Black, um, the ones that kind of look like crickets I told you about.
Right.
Agent K calls them worms. Those are based off of a real alien. I've seen video footage of one running around, but I couldn't save the video because it was on Facebook. It wasn't a YouTube video. But I wish I could have downloaded it and displayed it. Someone actually like videotaped one. I'm pretty sure it's not CG. It's pretty realistic. But I don't know 100% whether it was CG or not. Um, but yeah, those things played with me when I was a kid. Um, yeah. One time I was put in their room and they just shoved me in the room and locked the door on me to get me used to them. And I kind of freaked out. Then I remember them showing up in my room when I was home alone as a kid. But you were trying to talk to me about positive alien experiences. I think that's pretty much the only positive one I can remember. Most of them are scary and talk telepathically. These things speak English and something else.
Yeah. Now, I had an experience when I was 2, and I don't equate it to the programs, but maybe it is. I don't know. But I was falling down a shaft and having this conversation with a being and realizing and I never realized this until someone pointed it out. I'm talking and conversating with a being that's pulled me out of time. How did I understand that being? And so I wonder, is it as a child, do we know telepathy until we're taught not to know it? Or is that something like in a program where I automatically kicked into mode and could talk?
I don't know. I wonder if the aliens can communicate with people that aren't naturally telepathic. I'm not sure if they can or not. They can probably at least thought project. If you can't do anything back. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, some of them just don't talk, as far as I know.
Well, the interesting thing is, so that happened at 2, and in my 20s, I channeled for a little while. So I'm wondering if the 2 are connected and it was something I was born to do, or if it's something that someone taught me to do.
Huh. I don't know. Um, I'm pretty sure my brain's been shocked and I've been hypnotized. I think the brain shocking helps erase memories and abilities. So does the hypnotism. So, yeah, J Ridge was trying to wake me up from it. He died of cancer, though. I met his daughter. She was very pretty. Um, it's a
Well, I'm
long
sorry
story.
for your loss.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of got pissed at me because I refused to keep the aliens a secret, which is why I never officially joined DNI. So I was compromised, is what he said. But yeah, once he got cancer, they turned him into a recruiter. And, yeah, and I talked to another ex DNI guy named Daniil Kelly, and he changed his phone number on me. And I talked to John Rath. He also changed his phone number. And when I tried to reach him, a black helicopter aimed weapons at me. So I guess the government doesn't want me to talk to him. Did you see Origins Wolverine?
Yes, yes, I did.
Okay, did you see the black guy that teleports?
Yes.
Yeah, that guy's John Rath. That's not his real name, but that's the name he is called in the comics. I think his call sign is Crendel, which is an African bird. But yeah, I met him, and yeah, his number changed, and then I got threatened by a helicopter. But he knew a lot about the X-Men and the government projects. So he's based off of a real person too.
Yeah. So, do you give credence to those that say like Marvel is a purely disclosure type studio?
It's soft disclosure. That's what I would call it. Some of it is, not everything.
Yeah, because they had the helicarriers, which I've been told are very real. The characters, a lot of them, there's people are starting to say, yeah, that's real.
Yeah, I was trying to wake people up to that 10 years ago, but people are starting to figure it out without my help now. Um, I think Carrie Cassidy knows that a lot of it's real now. She didn't when I talked to her in 2012 or whatever, 2011. But I think she's up to speed on it a little better. She said she thought Trump and JFK were running the government while Biden was in charge. I didn't agree with that. But I agreed with the rest of her speech she did at the disclosure conference. Um,
Yeah. So Iron Bear 78 is saying, I think G.I. Joe us more soft disclosure, or maybe is more soft disclosure. I don't know. What's your thoughts on G.I. Joe? And I'm wondering if they're talking about all the cartoon series or the movies.
I don't know. Um, I know Michael Spindler wasn't a fan of the show. I mean, is Fat Fingers. Okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe he's arguing that G.I. Joe is a depiction of a super soldier. I'm not sure.
Well, he might be referring to the movie with Channing Tatum where he had that suit that made him run faster, could jump higher, and virtually made him stronger.
Huh. Yeah, I've heard them talk about that. Michael Spindler and John Storm talked about suits like that when they were super soldiers. Um, I've never been put in a suit as far as I know. I've just been experimented on. Like, they did something to me to make my reflexes really fast for a little while, and then they took it away. Um, they said I had Morbus's speed. Did you see Morbius?
I have.
Yeah. So they did something like that to me, but it didn't last forever. Where I had the same reflexes that Morbius had. It's in the comics too. It happens to Nate Gray in the comics as well. Um, but yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a bit scared to talk about it because it's kind of weird. But that's basically what happened.
And I don't know if you're aware, but the game series Halo recently came out with a series on Paramount Plus. And to me, the most thing that opened my eyes was the opening credits is a character is being having a black suit put on him that's not like a heavy mech suit. It's more like almost like a wetsuit that's being designed specifically for him. And everybody goes, yeah, that's the nanite suit that the super soldiers get, or in the programs that you get. And it's designed to heal you so you can land on the ground potentially from high distance, and if you break your leg, it'll heal your leg right away so you can move on. I, I don't know your thoughts on if you've seen it and if you're like, yeah, or if you've come across any of that.
I don't know much about nanotechnology. I've heard about it. Um, I think Peter Parker was given a suit. Um, yeah, yeah, I think he said he could defeat me with his suit, but not without the suit. If I remember right, I hadn't talked to him in a long time. I don't know what happened to him, but he visited me a couple times. Yeah, he knew John Storm as well. Um, but I never got to talk to him about John Storm. I think they were in the Navy together or something. Um, yeah, so there are suits that enhance people that exists. I think I remember reading about it in Popular Science too. But yeah,
And what I find interesting is like we'll see they'll say, "Oh, scientists have cracked warp speed." And then it disappears. Nobody ever talks about it after that. It's
uh,
like and they were talking about they have a cloth that can make you disappear to cameras and everything, and that disappeared. And yeah, it's like it's interesting to me how they may have a day or two where it's in the news and then it's white. And it's like everyone's like, "No, I don't think I ever heard that story." Do you think that's so they can get around the quote free will clause where they have to disclose before they can use?
um, well, the government has a couple saucers that can go that fast, but they come from the small grays. They're not saucers that we created. They were gifted to us. What Jay Ridge told me was they traded people and cows for the flying saucers because the Greys like to use parts of humans and parts of cows for whatever reason. I don't remember why they use people and cow parts, but yeah.
I think I heard somewhere that like they're clones of clones of clones, so their reproduction system is not existent now, so they need
Yeah, that's
us
what I was
and
taught too. Yeah, so I was taught that by Jay Ridge, and Um, let's see.
yeah,
Yeah, that's why they're mixing with us. They're abducting pregnant women and using their wombs. They're abducting women, putting babies in their wombs, and then abducting the babies. They're creating gray human hybrids because humans have hardier genetics than grays because grays have cloned themselves too many times and they can't reproduce sexually anymore. They can only reproduce by cloning. So they're mixing themselves with other species. I think they mix themselves with reptilians too. But they create hybrid human gray hybrids to try to hold on to their species because they can't clone themselves anymore.
and I had a guest who wrote a book about the fact that she was pregnant and they came and took the baby from her, and science, the medical field had said, yeah, you're pregnant. And then she went in after not feeling well and said, you've never been pregnant. We can't explain this, that your body is no longer showing signs of ever being pregnant. And so it makes, it's kind of interesting that why, if they don't want you to know, why, allow to be documented in the first place? Having someone go, oh, yeah, you're 6 weeks pregnant. Oh, you're 3 months pregnant. Oh, guess what? You're no longer pregnant. You were never pregnant. We can't explain. It's like, why? What do they gain from allowing the women to know and then it just disappears?
They get a hybrid. They don't want us taking care of them, so they take care of their own hybrids, I guess.
Right. But what I'm meaning is if they can hide the fact that she was ever pregnant, why allow the medical field to even know she was pregnant in the first place if they're going to take it? Because that to me seems like there's a paper trail, which if you're trying
Yeah,
to hide, you don't want.
I don't know if the aliens are really serious about covering themselves up. I mean, they do erase our minds, which reduces the trauma of being experimented on. I guess it's just an ethical thing on their part to not traumatize us, is why they erase our minds. Not sure. I don't really understand them. They're way above our ability to think, I guess.
Right, because they're operating on, say, fourth, fifth, sixth density thinking, where we're still in the third density thinking. It's like, yeah, we can't even fathom half of what they're doing and why. And they're probably looking at us and going, I don't know why they're viewing us as such a threat. We're not really doing anything that's a threat. They may not see it the same way we do.
Okay. Well, they might struggle communicating with us. Imagine trying to talk about math to a chimpanzee and chimpanzee noises. You probably wouldn't be very good at that. Or trying to explain physics to your dog. I mean, that's like them talking to us. We're not going to understand a lot of the stuff they understand.
Right. And so I kind of wonder sometimes if some of it's like a misunderstanding and they're trying to help where we feel misunderstanding what they're doing, and we're like, man, you're hurting and violating, and that may not be their intention, but that's how we're seeing it. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. I'm not saying it is or isn't, so don't read too much into saying it's just a theory.
It's still stealing and abduction for their personal benefit. I guess so. Huh. Yeah, I don't think they help us unless there's a very good reason to help us. I don't know what the deal is with all the drones over New Jersey. I don't know if some of them are UFOs or if all of them are drones. But the fact the government won't tell us why there are drones all over New Jersey and New York is pretty weird.
Right. Their answer is we don't know. And it's like, wait a minute. If it's a drone, they could track to the pilot and ask the pilot why are they, because my understanding is drones are tagged to their operator so they can easily determine who's operating. So how is it these drones are flying over and nobody knows who's operating? It's like it doesn't make sense. It's like if you remember the balloon that came through. So and it could be Space Force Iron Bear 78 that's operating that, and so we're gonna give Nate a few minutes to take care of something, and we'll continue. Okay, here we go.
Sorry.
That's all right.
So, you're talking about the drones?
I was saying like they know who the operator is, but then again, they allowed this so-called Chinese balloon, if you remember, to traverse the entire U.S. before claiming to have shot it down from the West Coast to the East Coast. So it's like, yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they were all up in arms about the balloon, but they're totally cool with all the lights and the car-sized drones over New Jersey. The FBI's been investigating that for like a month so far, and they're still not talking about what they are. Um, I wonder if they're real UFOs up there and they're flying drones around the UFOs to distract you from the UFOs.
That's what I would think because I can't help thinking about how, like, you see the movies where the government officials are saying to someone, we can't, in good faith, tell the people we don't know what's in our airspace and can't protect you from it because then people will lose faith in the government. And it's like, well, lying to the people too will cause them to lose faith in the government.
Yeah,
So you might as well admit it, and at least then we all are like, okay. But they're always. It seems like their playbook is always we want to minimize the panic.
yeah,
But I'm with you. I mean, if you got drones in multitudes hovering in the skies, you're gonna have panicked people.
yeah. It's
So
pretty
what are
weird.
you minimizing by keeping quiet?
Yeah.
But I know, Nate, you had said that you weren't feeling so well, and we are actually over the hour. So if you want, if you're feeling okay, if you want to answer a couple more questions, we can, or we can call it here and have you on another time.
Does anyone have any questions?
So far everyone's kind of talking about the drones, and Derek has a theory that it's Iranian mothership drones. He's laughing about it because they always want to blame another country to start a war. And so, yeah, I'm just, I'm curious, where do you see, or rather, instead of where do you see, where do you hope that we're going into this new awakening stage? What do you hope for the people who are in the programs? Like, what's going to happen?
Well, I hope shining light on it's going to make people stop doing it. I think that's Penny Bradley's goal. She's trying to expose this stuff to embarrass the government so they stop abducting kids and using them in Montauk and stuff. So the goal is to stop kids from being abused by the government or by the aliens. It's the same deal with troubled teen talk. It's to expose what happened to troubled teens in the troubled teen industry. So I'm trying to shine a light on this stuff and expose it and let people know that they're not necessarily crazy just because they saw a UFO or an alien, that other people have seen them too, and that they're more of us, and that this is what really happened to us and it's disclosure.
So, what's your theory around why people are starting to come forward? And when I say people, I mean the ones who legitimately were through everything and not those that are trying to get their 15 seconds of fame. But, and I know I'm going to get call that that's a judgment, but it's my opinion through experiences of what I've witnessed. But that aside, why do you think all of a suddenly people are starting to remember and come forward?
Well, I came forward after seeing Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura. When I saw Duncan come forward, I decided to find Project Camelot and do an interview with them. So that got me involved. Before that, I was pretty much alone, other than some of the people I'd met who knew about this stuff. But I didn't have any friends on the internet who knew about it, just people I'd met in person. And J Ridge. Now, what J Ridge taught me, Snowden's released. Some of it's being released by the guy who wrote the book Imminent, Elizondo or something. He's starting to
Luis?
release stuff. Yeah, Luis Elizondo. He's waking people up. People like Corey Good are just trying to get their 15 minutes of fame. He was fake. But I think Elizondo is real. So, yeah, Corey Good was just making stuff up to be famous. So they're always bad apples like that.
And sometimes I wonder, though, because they'll say, like, in every legend is a kernel of truth, and every myth there's some truth. So I look at it as, maybe, Corey did have an experience or two, and then it just, his mind filtered it from there, and he went where he went. But I, I have a hard time, saying someone is completely fake because I don't know what they experienced.
Okay.
And I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm just saying that's my stance for on the show is I don't call out, and say, oh, this person is definitely this because I haven't been in their shoes. I don't know. They could have had a real experience. I don't know.
It's my understanding that he admitted he was fake. So that's
And,
what I heard. I'm not 100% sure.
yeah, and he might have, and then some people say that yeah, he did say that under coercion, and so it's like could he have? I don't know. Wasn't there, so I just yeah, and I feel like to me, where I would like to see what comes of it is people don't like judge and quickly go, that can't be real. People to be more understanding because it's like I enjoy, these memes that come around every once in a while. I'll see that are like, you know, we I don't remember exactly what the meme is, but it's something along the lines of like, you don't see the air, but you believe in it, but you see this and you don't believe in it. It's like, yeah, why is that? You believe what you don't see, but you question what you do see. And and it's not like questioning in a bad way. I mean, it's like flat out saying, like, if someone would say the sky is not blue, it's like, I can look at the sky. The sky is blue. What are you talking about? Do you kind of know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the stuff he talked about is plausible, like the 20 and back. Penny said she's done several 60 and backs. I don't remember ever doing a 20 and back, which is probably good. Um,
Yeah, and here's a good question for you if you have a moment. They're asking, how can you tell what's real if they can mess with your memory?
that is a good question. You can't. You have to compare it to what other people have seen. and what the video evidence is. They can mess with your memory. They can change all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, and Penny Bradley, I know a lot of people view her as the grandmother of the programs, and I've had her on my show a few times, and it's always interesting how when she's talking about it and bringing light to it, certain people will get triggered, and then from those people comes a storm of other people coming and saying, "Oh, this or that," and it's like, well, why are you doing that? Well, and to me, it's like I feel like as much as we can be hypnotized and triggered into actions, I feel like there ought to be still is like a kernel of you that says, wait a minute, this is my friend. Why am I going after my friend to discredit my friend? Like there should be like something that makes you want to fight it instead of just going off. I don't know. That's just me. I don't know if you think the same thing or if they can totally block you out and cause you to do whatever.
Hmm. I don't know. Hmm. Um, so you're saying that stuff Penny says triggers people into attacking her?
Well, she's been attacked by a lot of people, and even in this space program community, some of them go after her. And I'm like, that to me, that always seems a little fishy because if we're all in the programs, why would we be attacking each other? Because we already get that enough from the outside. Why would we do it on the inside? And so part of me has to think somebody's been activated to try and discredit or cause conflict within so that yeah, we keep distrusting each other, we keep separating, and we don't unite, so to speak, and help each other, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, Duncan turned on everyone. James Casbolt went crazy too. Some people go haywire. It happens to all of us, I guess, in a way. Um, yeah, some people just, yeah, I guess there are all sorts of reasons why people might leave. I don't know if I should go into them on live TV, but
No, I'm not asking you to front anybody out. I was just making a general vision of yeah, what could possibly want be why people who people talk to each other for years and then all of a suddenly they're like enemy number one to you because something you said, and it's like, wait a minute, we've been talking for months and now all of a sudden you're going to say boom and drop a bomb and say everything you say is a lie. To me, that's what's suspicious about it.
huh. Maybe some of us are programmed to turn on each other. They can program us to do that. They don't want us while working together, exposing all this stuff together. Maybe they've been programmed to attack Penny to discourage her from doing what she's doing. I'm not sure. She said some people get visited by men in black who go on her show. I mean, I haven't been visited by the men in black from talking to her, but other people have been intimidated out of talking to her. So they're powerful people that don't want you to talk to Penny Bradley, is my understanding of it.
And I do like I try to be careful every time I have her on my show and just go where the conversation goes and just I feel like she knows what conversations will cause what reaction, and so I just trust her to lead when I talk with her about it and go from there and not purposefully be like, oh, you want to be visited by so and so. So, yeah, let's drop that. Like they used to say in I think it was the 80s and 70s, that you could say keywords and you could hear the click on the phone that it's now being recorded and you're on a list now. So, yeah, it makes me wonder, if
Oh,
she's aware and if she watches out for some of the people. Because I've never been visited.
well, she's the reason I got invited to the disclosure conference in the summer. That's what I was heard anyway. It took me some convincing and coaxing to go, but I'm glad I went. I was worried
Oh,
at first.
you talking about the disclosure now?
Yeah,
Are you going to next year's?
I'm planning to. I hope I'll make it.
I'll be there.
Okay. Are you talking on the main stage or the secondary stage?
I'll be on the secondary stage.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on the secondary stage last time. So I signed up kind of late. I
And
wasn't sure I wanted to go first.
yeah, I teeter back and forth, but I feel like the time is right because just the way it came about.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. Let's see.
All right.
Penny Bradley and Men in Black. Um, I was thinking something about that. Part the other things is people don't like reptilians and Germans. People have
Yeah.
been taught to hate and fear both those groups, so that could have something to do with it too. Because she said the factions she works with upset certain people.
Yeah, the Nachtwaffen, I believe she calls it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't pronounce German that well, but
My last name is German, but yeah, I fake it like I can make it.
yeah, yeah. I am
Well,
German too.
Nate, we're actually approaching an hour and a half, so I want to thank you for coming on, and especially thank you because I know you weren't feeling well. So thank you for persevering and sharing your information with us and everything. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for inviting me on, and yeah, make sure to check out my site and Super Soldier Forum if you get the chance.
Yes, I definitely will, and I encourage everyone in the chat room to check out his information. The links are in the description. So, thank you to everyone in the chat room for your participation and your questions as well. And Nate, I just want to say if you ever want to come on, because I know you don't do live shows that often, so if you're ever feeling like you want to do one, let me know. I'll gladly have you on again.
Okay, sounds great. Yeah.
Well, I hope you get to feeling better. And with that, I am going to say good night to everyone out there. Make it a wonderful day and see you all in the next episode. Good night, everyone.
No,